Now, when I go to the YMCA, they have free weights and they have machines. The machines that your facilities offer, are they handcrafted for specific exercises? Like we spoke about your squat machine.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed your squat machine. It wasn't like I was using my back.
Yeah.
I was basically, even if it was mediocre weight, because Jonathan was taking a little light on me at 3 minutes. Jesus fucking Christ.
But I think you learned pretty quickly that he's a pretty strong motherfucker.
It's weird how are those machines specifically made for your style of training?
Yeah, a lot of them are. I mean, that's why.
Is that where Ken Hutchins came in? Or
Exactly. So Ken Hutchins said, by the way, we're doing all these things biomechanically incorrect, right? He says, there are biomechanics here, people. I mean, muscles have strength curves. They have weak points and they have strong points. And you shouldn't be overtaxing a muscle at its weak point. And free weights and conventional machines do exactly that. And again, we're trying to avoid joint problems. And a lot of times the reason we get hurt during exercise is because the weight's too heavy when the joint is at its weakest position. So these machines that Ken Hutchins thought about, and Arthur Jones actually thought about even before him, is that you have to vary the resistance through the range of motion to match the weaknesses and strengths of that muscle group. So before that, the weight was way too heavy through a range of motion. So now Ken Hutchins says, you know what, we're going to make it lighter here, we're going to make it heavier here, and match the strength curve of that muscle and make it much more friendlier for the joint. Especially when you're lifting weights slowly. When you lift weights slowly, it really magnifies those differences in the strength curve. So without getting too technical, bottom line is Ken Hutchins redesigned the original Nautilus machines that Arthur Jones came up with and made it much more smooth and safer for the joints as you went through the range of motion. So yes, if you specialize in this type of technique of training, the slow lifting to failure, there are machines out there that are more accommodating for that. If you're lucky to work at a place like that, that's great. That's like the Rolls Royce of this type of workout. But like my team at the publisher said, the principles are still the same, right? I mean, there are ways of getting around that if you know what you're doing. And that's what my book did. Is that I knew no one was going to have access around the country and world. The book ended up being a bestseller. So, there's a lot of copies of that book out there all over the place. And, I came up with routines that had nothing to do with my equipment because I knew people weren't going to really have access to my equipment. So I showed them how you can do it with regular stuff. There are some things you just avoid. You don't want to do a lateral raise straight up like that. It really hurts the shoulder. And that's one of the most popular exercises around. And people are doing this all day long. You got trainers killing people's shoulders without even knowing it, So we show you how to do that without hurting your shoulders, even with a free weight. So they're little tricks, and so you can just, honestly, it's not rocket science. You just want to avoid hurting yourself. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you want to get fit but not undermine your health. And part of that health is joint health. I mean, half the problem, God forbid, cancer is a big one, right? But like after cancer and some of the big ones that really kill you, the next one is like living in pain your whole life with hip problems and back problems and shoulder problems. Who wants to live like that? I mean, there are a lot of people in a lot of pain. And again, ironically, it's because they were told how to work out a certain way, doing jujitsu in the name of exercise. Now, jujitsu is great. One of the big things that Ken Hutchins loved to talk about was the distinction between exercise and recreation. And what people do is they end up thinking they're doing something recreational like jujitsu or something really challenging, basketball, wrestling, right? These are sports. Sports were not meant to get you in shape. Sports are sports. It's competition, right? That's fun. It's challenging. There's a lot of benefits to playing sports, but it's not technically good exercise. If your definition of exercise is to get strong and not take any risk, and that's my definition of exercise. That was Ken Hutchins' definition of exercise. It says exercise to get strong and don't put yourself in any risk. Play sports because you like sports. And you like all the other things that come from sports. But don't confuse the two. Don't confuse your exercise with sports and vice versa. So when you're talking about the clean and jerks you were doing and all those Olympic lifts you're doing, Olympic lifts are sport lifts. That's a technique. For exercise, it's a poor choice for exercise because you're going to hurt yourself doing those Olympic lifts. That's a tough stuff. That's why CrossFit is kind of like more of a sport than really safe exercise.
I look at what's going on today. I look at football. I look at how they shine children away from football and how I came from a town where they encourage football in the first grade. All my friends that come to my shows now have known each other from Pee Wee football. And then you go on to Red Eagle football and Red Raider football. And what my hometown does is they teach you those plays. So when you become a freshman, you already have the fundamentals of that play. But along came called the Bruin mentality. North Bergen is the second hilliest town in the country behind San Francisco. So every coach you had was hill crazy. I still remember freshman year, this fucking scumbag of a man, Dan Reardon, who, if we lost, would make us run up and down a certain hill with our hands up. You know, it was barbaric ways of lifting. There were kids that were lifting to get strong and to benefit, and then it was the early 80s where it was an epidemic of syringes. So half of us had to make a decision of who did what. But no matter where you went in my hometown, the workouts were brutal. You know, we'd pile on 300 pounds. There was no science. We kind of used Irish science, but today I can't shoot a basketball. Today, there's 1,000 things I can't do because I still remember putting 185 and doing behind the necks 5 sets of 6 and hearing things popping, but you weren't allowed to complain where I'm from. There was no pain. I remember a time we would make milkshakes with gallons of ice cream and 12 eggs because the Barbarian Brothers. You remember the Barbarian Brothers?
No,
they were 2 fucking steroid twins from the 80s that just said that they didn't do steroids. They just ate 36 eggs a day. So here, everybody in America, you'd see people eating everybody smelled like fucking farts, and everybody was eating raw eggs all day. What are those hard-boiled eggs?
Oh.
Because of our Barbarian Brothers. But what we did, looking back on it, was destroying our bodies without looking at it. Now it's 2019, and Lee lives in my neighborhood, and we'll attest to this. And we could take a ride after this, and you'll see it. Once you hit Riverside or Magnolia, once you start going on those after Magnolia, you guys are going to start seeing a bunch of CrossFitness gyms. With the main one being one on Ventura Boulevard, that as you're driving, you see these fucking morons not even doing the farmer walks. They're doing the one-arm farmer walks. And, you know, I'm watching, you know, I go online and I see what they're doing, and it is amazing. I love kettlebells. But let me tell you something. Somewhere along the line, you're going to get hurt with kettlebells because if you see their basic swing, look at the arch of your spine.
Exactly. You nailed it.
It doesn't take a fucking genius. And I'm not a kinesiologist. I didn't take PE in fucking University of Colorado. I'm just telling you by looking and how I felt.
Thank you.
When I was doing those things. Pavlov, whoever the fuck his name. What's his name?
Pavlov's dog?
No, what's the fucking guy that did the kettlebells?
The hard style kettlebells. It's a Russian dude.
Oh, the Russian guy. Yeah.
Russian dude.
Yeah.
He made one great point. If you read what he read kettlebells are designed not to burn you out, but to make you feel like you did something. In other words, he has it like this shit of 10 sets of 10 swings in 10 minutes and then 16 sets of cleans. That wasn't his intention. That's what us as greedy Americans, be number one, added to it. Whatever his name wanted you to do, 3 sets of 12, maybe 3 sets of 10 cleans, and maybe 4 Turkish get-ups, and that was it. It wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to bring your muscles to be alive, to energize, to put blood in your muscles, and that was it. But I think somewhere, as us as Americans, we've abused this, and in the next 20 years, the injuries from CrossFit are going to be these kids are not going to be able to wipe their asses.
We're going backwards.
We're going back, and that's what made me, when I read your page, your book, I read the Pure Strength pamphlet, I said, wow, we're on to something.
Yeah, that's where you're working at. It's Pure Strength. I mean, like you said, it's a small little place. I mean, meanwhile, there's CrossFit all over the place. I mean, it drives me crazy.
I will get in the car with you and you go, Joey, no, it isn't. I will show you just on Colfax. There's 2 in the same center. So while you're waiting for the left to change on Ventura, you'll see them running upstairs with farmers walks, and they go back and forth. Once you hook that left, no exaggeration, 30 yards, it's called something, Lee, the Kettlebell Kingdom. 2 floors. I mean, listen, you got to do a lot of swinging to keep those lights on. You know what I'm saying? There better be a lot of motherfuckers swinging.